Every season, there's a handful of players who become inflection points on a football team. Guys who don't just fill roles, but could swing the outcome of a year. In 2025, Texas A&M has a lot of talent all over the field, a lot of NFL potential on the team. But there are a few names that carry more weight than the rest. These are the pivotal Aggies. I like to make this video every year. I like to give a top 5 players who are either stepping into bigger roles, are expected to make leaps, expected to fill critical positions on the team. This isn't just about talent. A lot of talented players on this list I'm going to give you today. It's about importance, volatility. These are players whose level of play could shift the direction of a season. Two of the most recognizable names on this list didn't crack the top 5, and they're actually just going to be honorable mentions at the end. And they're guys that might surprise you because they're star players that we expect a lot out of. But I still feel the need to talk about them because I do think there's some relative risk with some players. But these are players who can really take us over the top. Players that, most of which I'm quite bullish on, but we have to be honest about things, and I'm excited to talk about it. It helps us set a framework of expectations. It helps us kind of set that watch list going into a season, and I think right now, before we get into the thick of preseason, it's a good time to get this out there. So we'll get back into our player spotlights after this. I got Le'Veon Moss coming up next, but I wanted to stop and do this one for you guys. So like and subscribe if you like this kind of thing. I'll keep putting videos out all preseason. Thank you guys for being here. So we're going to start with number 1 on this list, because I think number 1 is very, very predictable, and I just put a video out about the guy. It's Marcel Reed. Need I say more? He is quarterback 1 on a football team. He's going from redshirt freshman to sophomore year. The offense is now fully catered and built around him. He has weapons that, as we indicated in that previous video, really complement his style of play. Guys like a Casey Concepcion, good in the short game, catch and run. Bussy, another big play threat from short passes to long gains. Those kind of players are going to make Marcel better, along with the offense being built to feature that style of play. RPO, short to intermediate passing game, quarterback run, a lot of running back action with a good offensive line. A lot of stuff to like. So real quick, the floor of Marcel Reed, in my opinion, is relatively high. But that doesn't mean that it's okay to hit that floor. We don't want to see Marcel just be the exact same Marcel we saw last year. We still want him to take that step forward. Because if he hits that floor, though I think he can still be effective that way, it could be the difference in being a 7-8 win football team to an 8-9-10 win football team. Because Marcel Reed is one of the guys that can obviously bring this offense over the top. You get that skill out of the quarterback position, you get that upper echelon play, you get that downfield passing improvement. Really could take this offense over the top. I wanted to be brief with that one because we all know this. This is very obvious. This is very apparent. It's quarterback 1. It's freshman to sophomore year. It's Marcel Reed. Now, this is where things get interesting, and this is really the guy at number 2 that is the reason I wanted to make this video right now, because I've been watching a lot of film from last year and really focusing on this guy. The second most impactful Aggie, I think, going into 2025 is DJ Hicks. Now, let's first get into that position group. We all know that you lost a lot on the defensive line. At least you lost 3 starters to the NFL. And specifically, you lose Shamar Turner on the interior. You lose Rodas Johnson off the bench in the interior. So you've lost some key bodies there, although maybe they didn't have the most productive seasons relative to their talent. It's a lot of snaps that have moved on. DJ Hicks logged 325 snaps last year. He played his best ball late in the season. Obviously, he has fully grown into that true defensive tackle position that he is now playing at the college level. In high school, kind of a hybrid player, a little bit of a lighter D tackle, could play some strong side defensive end. Now he is fully leaning that defensive tackle position. With Regis and Onyedem holding down the fort, these are 2 guys with a lot of experience at the college level. I think they're 2 guys that we can hang our hats on. I really like what we got from Onyedem in the spring game. Has great tape from the year before at Iowa State. Kind of a lighter, pass rush-oriented defensive tackle. Really good to complement Hicks or Regis on the inside. I think Hicks holds all the upside of that defensive tackle position. Now, of course, beyond those 3, Hicks now an upperclassman. He's going to be a junior now. Beyond those, it's a lot of young players. You have redshirt freshmen like Dalen Evans, and you have some really, really promising but young true freshmen in Rink, Sanders, and Sims. Now, while I think those guys can all have an effective role as the 4th or 5th player in that rotation, you really need Hicks to be that guy that brings the upside in your established regime. Hicks breaks out. You've got a 3-man interior rotation that can hang with anyone. If not, you're leaning on true freshmen a lot more than you want. You don't get that upside off the bench. Well, Hicks could start, let's just be fair. You don't get that third man with that tremendous upper echelon SEC play that he has the potential to achieve in his junior year. Because we saw in that LSU game, he became quite disruptive late in the season. In the Texas game, the pick six, he was the one that swatted that ball down. Became a very sound player, and I thought he had a damn good spring game where he held his ground against some of our better offensive linemen. So I think Hicks is one of the players that can impact any given play. My college coach always told me that the nose guard can be the most impactful player of a defense because they start closest to the ball. They can impact the most amount of plays immediately, any given play. And I think Hicks can be that guy for A&M. But he has to go out there and show it. He has to take that next step. Although we got incremental improvements based on his high school tape, there should be a leap in the chamber of DJ Hicks. And if he accomplishes that, that player alone can swing the defense almost as much as Reed could swing an offense. That's a bold statement there, but given the needs and the question marks around this defense, Hicks could be the guy that fills that void. So I'm really, really looking at DJ Hicks this year. And that's a lot to put on one player, but I think he's fully capable of doing it, man. This is a very, very critical piece of an Aggie defense going into 2025. Number 3, very similar dialogue as DJ Hicks, but in the secondary position, Dalton Brooks. Now, I'm going to pick on Dalton Brooks here because I think he's fully capable of being an NFL talent in 2025. The DBs struggled late in 2024. It's no question. It's no joke. Everybody knows it. Everybody saw it. There were too many busts, too many lapses in assignment, too many lapses in discipline. It has to all be fixed. And I'm picking on Dalton Brooks because I think he can be an absolute key player for this defense. Remember early last year, he had a string of targeting penalties, held him out of a bunch of games early in the season, and he comes back finally like full form in the Arkansas game, and he really, really helped shore up the run game, really helped shore up, the run defense, really helped shore up the stopping the short passes from breaking out and being big plays. Dart to the ball, takes good angles, really physical tackler. But as everybody else in this defensive back room did down the stretch, just too many lapses in coverage, especially in zone coverage, out of position, players standing close together. Dalton Brooks will need to find another level of discipline in 2025, and I think being in year 2 of a system and getting pretty much that whole unit back will help every individual player in that group a lot. But I expect the world from Dalton Brooks because I just see this guy beaming with NFL talent. I just see a great physical specimen at DB, strong, wiry strong, fast, great angles, great tackler. I want to see a lot from Dalton Brooks this year, and he's going to be a day one starter. I am pretty damn sure of it. You have a lot of safety options this year. You also have Radcliffe, Bryce Anderson, and you have Miles Davis, who the coaches have done nothing but rave about, even though we've only really seen him in some mop-up duty or maybe playing for some injured players. I think Dalton Brooks needs to be the head of the spear here. I think he needs to be the head of this entire secondary. I think he needs to be a leader by the way he plays, and I think he's fully capable of doing it. So I'm going to say that Dalton Brooks is my third most pivotal Aggie going into 2025. Number 4, and this is where things get a little interesting. I kind of cheated here. The cornerback battle opposite of Will Lee. Des Ricks, Julian Humphrey. This is one of the most important position battles on the team. Now, they're probably both going to play a lot. That's true. And whichever one starts doesn't mean that's the only one that's going to play. They're going to rotate a lot. They're going to rotate on both sides, I would imagine. We saw Des Ricks struggle a lot last year, right? Keep in mind, as we all know, he was a true freshman-aged player last year, even though he was listed as a college sophomore because he enrolled early at Bama, skipped a year of high school, got into the program early, redshirted, and last year probably played more than you would hope a DB that age would play. But you feel like you can play a guy with his level of talent, right? Prototype traits. 6'1", 4.5 speed, insane vertical, like a 39-inch vertical, NFL bloodline. He was extremely raw last year. Got turned around in coverage sometimes, lacked discipline like the rest of the DB unit did sometimes. Just a super young player out there, and it showed particularly in the bowl game when you were down Will Lee and he was your lead corner against a Lincoln Riley-led offense. That was tough. Now you enter Julian Humphrey, the very experienced corner out of Georgia, older, more polished, comes from the Kirby Smart defense, brings elite speed, SEC experience. Ricks is probably the favorite here in my opinion, but Humphrey, definitely a stabilizer for the position. Definitely a guy that could raise the floor of that group. But one of these guys absolutely has to hit. One of these guys has to be that lockdown corner that goes next to Will Lee, so Will Lee isn't the only stopper you have out there guarding your outside receivers, man. One of these guys has to step up. I honestly feel pretty good about it. I know we're kind of getting to the end of this DB talk here because the next one is not DB. I feel good about this DB room overall taking a step forward because you bring all these bodies back and they have experience compounding on itself together in year 2 of a system. But these are guys that have to take steps forward. So we'll see what happens. Number 4, Des Ricks, Julian Humphrey. Number 5, who's linebacker 3? You obviously have Torin York. You obviously have Scooby Williams, who we just found out was playing with a torn meniscus last year. Damn, that must have sucked. That must have been painful. You must have felt shaky on that knee. And he still had some really high highs last year. I can only imagine what he'll be this year with an offseason of recovery, distancing himself from that injury. It could be a special starting duo at linebacker. But you lose Solomon DeShields, good for about 189 snaps last year, exactly that per PFF. And you bring back Damian Sanford, who logged 371 snaps last year, played a lot of football, but definitely as a redshirt freshman, had his share of mistakes. That's fair. You expect that from a young guy. But now he's probably going to be in a bigger role now that Solomon DeShields is out. So I would say of this group, Sanford's the one I'm circling. Sanford needs to just become a more solid tackler, be a little bit more sound in his gap fits, tackling. He has experience now, and that matters, and he should take a step forward. But I think he could really make this defense better if he's that reliable third option off the bench. But you probably need a fourth. So I will mention Tristan Jernigan, Jordan Lockhart. These are 2 guys that I've been high on since they got on campus. Love their high school tape. I've loved seeing them both in mop-up duty. They both look the part. But I think at least one of these guys will be stepping into a role where they'll be relied upon for maybe 150 snaps on the year, something like that to go around. I would imagine that Sanford could creep up to that 400 snap marker this year. Still snaps to go around at linebacker 4. So which of those guys step up? So I'm going to kind of look at this whole linebacker room beyond our 2, surefire starters, probably surefire stars, one of the better linebacker duos in the country or in the conference at least. Who else is in that room? Who rounds it out? Who are the spell guys? And can Sanford take that next step? Now, I want to get into the honorable mentions here. These are pretty interesting to me. I was going to leave them off the list, but I felt the need to mention them both, even though these are like players that we think of as stars going into the year. I'm just going to call him number 6. He's an honorable mention, not in the top 5. It's Cassius Howell. Now, you're expecting him to break out. He was probably the most efficient pass rush defensive end last year on the team, and that's a group that included Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton. But if you look at the numbers and kind of expand them out, Cassius Howell was the best. But that belief carries weight. With those guys gone, you really need this guy to be what we expect him to be. And I think there's a really good chance that happens, but it has to happen. I think with what you lose at this defensive end position, you have a lot of weight on this Cassius Howell thing to hit. Well, I think it does. I'm damn sure it does. Got to see it. Now, this is the last one. This is going to be a hot take. It's Le'Veon Moss. This dude, we saw the injury. It looked rough. While I don't think the wheels fall off if Le'Veon Moss isn't 100%, because this running back room is really deep and has a lot of experience and has back-end depth with your freshmen. But Le'Veon Moss, like Marcel Reed, carries a lot of the upside of this offense. There was a difference when it was not Le'Veon Moss out there. Le'Veon Moss was a star power running back. He could break tackles. He could turn 5-yarders into 15, 20, 30-yard runs. He did it time and time again. He was just kind of a stabilizer for this offense, man. You could be in a bind. You could be in a second and long, and Le'Veon Moss just gives you a first down. You're going to miss that if he's not 100%. So is he going to be 100%? I don't know. The last report we got from Elko was that he will become fully healthy in the middle of fall camp. You don't need him to be 100% by game 1. He has a 2-week runway to get ready for that Notre Dame game. Let's see that progress versus UTSA and Utah State. Let's see him get some snaps under his belt there, really start hit the ground running in that Utah State game, and let's see him be full go by that Notre Dame game. You really want that if you want to hit your upside offensively. But guys, those are my pivotal Aggies going into 2025. Who did I miss? Y'all let me know. Are there any names I didn't throw out there that you are looking at to be pivotal? You could name anybody in the secondary, maybe besides Will Lee. We think that's going to happen. But besides Will Lee, anybody in that secondary could be listed. You could mention a bunch of other defensive linemen. You could mention offensive linemen. Who else would you go with? And do you agree with my list? Guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to be putting out a Le'Veon Moss player spotlight here very soon where we get more into him and more into his importance and more into his skill set. We love Le'Veon, man. He'd just be balling. He'll be next. And guys, subscribe if you like this kind of content. I appreciate you all. Check out the merch store. I wore the merch today. We got the samples in. We got the Elko Unlimited beautiful shirt with Reveille in the oval. We got the Football and Fajitas rope hat. Y'all check that stuff out. It's in the description below. Thanks for being here, guys. Gig 'em.